Hello book fighters, it is Thursday, January 12th, and today's video comes in 3 parts. Part 1, Moby-Dick. Well, as you can tell by the pink walls behind me, I am in my childhood bedroom, and I've been visiting the family all week, so I haven't really been thinking about literary classics. So, I'm mostly just going to respond to what the other book fighters have already said. First to Dan, because I can feel his disappointment. I knew it was there before I even saw his Monday video. I have to say that I didn't actively dislike Moby-Dick. I just completely apathetic on the book in general. Just there was the stuff that I was just pushing through was about equal to the stuff that I really liked, and the end result was just I have total apathy about this book. Now, in reference to the whiteness of the whale, I referenced that chapter in my last video, and then Dan said something about it on Monday. I actually really liked that chapter. I liked it maybe not as quite as much as chapter 1, but it was one that I really enjoyed. But it came to mind for my last video, because I was reading it, and I enjoyed it out while I was reading it, but because I had already been bogged down by all of this, like, extraneous information, I wasn't enjoying it, where I knew that I would if it were on its own. My issue is not necessarily that Melville goes on forever, it's that he goes on forever about everything. Every single thing. He takes chapters for things that should take a paragraph to say, and to say just as well. I can't get on board with your theory that this is part of the journey and you feel like it's the journey with them, and I'm glad that you feel that way, and lots of other people have probably felt that way as well, but I personally felt like the constantly extrapolating on every single detail made the parts that I would really like less enjoyable, because I felt like I was just trudging through them because I was just trudging through everything. I do have to agree with the comment that Dragon Boy 092, I think, made about the book, that it's actually 2 books. You have the adventure story, and then you have the sort of documentary, encyclopedic story, and conceptually, I think that's really interesting, but it just comes back to the same thing for me, is that everything had to go on forever, and so the things that are so interesting about this book get weighed down. But no, that was a really interesting observation, so I just wanted to acknowledge it. Moving on. Then, in regards to Lauren's comment about, she made it on in her first video, about it being about religion. I have heard actually a similar thing, but I don't think that Ahab's search for the whale was a symbol of devout religiosity. I think it was sort of the opposite of that. There was the one chapter where they were first talking about Ahab and the whale, where it was saying that Ahab had put every terrible thing that had ever happened to him onto the whale. So chasing the whale, it wasn't about getting vengeance for losing his leg, it was he put every bad thing in his life on to the whale. And from a religious standpoint, it would be blaming all of your life problems on God. And, you know, there's probably different levels of the religious symbolism here that I'll have to look more closely at if we want to continue this discussion, but I don't think that it was necessarily about this overbearing sort of Westboro Baptist Church sort of religiosity, but rather blaming your problems onto religion or a God figure, which I think is an interesting concept, and I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be God, per se. It could be a person, or an event, or anything else that you just, you hang all your troubles on. It's your scapegoat, it's your scape whale. That it's ultimately destructive to have that sort of mindset, because it's not dealing with the issues. And you're not going to feel better once you kill your whale. It's just now you have nothing to blame for it. So yes, that's all that I have to say about Moby-Dick. In this video, anyway. Part 2, books. I was able to get The Fault in Our Stars when it came out yesterday? No, day before yesterday. I'm filming this on Wednesday, so it was yesterday for me, but not when this video. This isn't interesting. Anyway, I did get The Fault in Our Stars, and it is signed, of course, but sadly no Yeti or Hanklerfish. What can you do? Kalinda, we had talked a couple months ago, I think, about Lord of the Rings copies, and you had said that you were looking for the 1973 covers of Lord of the Rings, and I have been searching for you in used bookstores, and my my mother and grandma had this used book thing in an antique mall, and so they had some old Lord of the Rings books in there. Are these the ones you're looking for? This is the 1973 cover. It's not the parchment colored ones. There are other ones with the exact same cover art, but where it's pink on this book, it's parchment colored. I have The Hobbit from that section, but if this is the one you're looking for, you can't have this because this is the first Hobbit 1973 cover I found, and it is mine. See, I sort of have this thing, mostly just with Lord of the Rings and more recently Sherlock Holmes, where I sort of need to collect every edition of the books that I come across. And you know, it's fine because it's just Lord of the Rings and Sherlock Holmes. It's not a compulsion that I generally have because I usually don't like used books, but this particular sort of endeavor is sort of more exciting for me. So yeah, they found The Hobbit, but you can't have this one. I'm sorry. I love you, but you can't have my Hobbit. But is this one you were looking for? Because if it is, I can send it to you. Also, I found a 1965 cover of The Return of the King, and it's pretty excellent. I'm going to try to show this to you closer. So as you can see, Aragorn looks somewhat different than what we're used to. Would you say that he has more of a porn mustache or a 1970s cop mustache? Either way, it's pretty spectacular. I also got a copy of The Once and Future King. I actually used this book as a prop when I was in Guys and Dolls, but I've never actually read the book. And for viewers, we're actually reading this summer, but not till like July or something, so don't worry about it now, but I just wanted to get this copy while I was at home. Part 3, housekeeping. Okay, so Kalinda is on a cruise, and she told us this when we first asked her to join us in Book Fighters, that she was going on a cruise in January. So we're not punishing her for not having a video during the cruise because it was already okayed beforehand. And she'll be back soon. So don't miss her too keenly because she'll return to us. Also, for all of the people who have been asking about the books that we're going to be reading this year, and also the Book Fighters, because I keep emailing out the book list for the year to everybody, I am going to be updating the Squidoo lens that I have for the Book Fighters sometime this week. Before my next video, I will have updated it. The link for it is on the front page of the channel. It's been there since I made the page at the beginning of Book Fighters when we first started it, but I haven't updated it in a while. So I'm going to put Kalinda on there, I'm going to put the book list on there, I'm going to update the information about how Book Fighters work, so hopefully next week I can tell you to check that out and see what's going on there. I'm thinking that I might start doing some more with the Squidoo stuff. I know that none of you guys use Squidoo, but it's actually really handy. So I might start doing something with that. If so, I will let all of you know as soon as it happens. And that is all I have for you today. Expect my good video that I told you about last week next week. And Julia, I will see you tomorrow.